Hi guys, I wanted to do a quick follow-up on our Google training from Tuesday. Just a quick refresher. And for those of you that didn't attend, maybe this will give you a quick insight into it. If you have any additional questions, need help, things like that, feel free to contact me. So we're going to go here to Google Forms. You can also go to it. It's probably not going to show here on you. I use it a lot. You're going to go to Google, your 9 squares, click on Forms. If you don't see it here, click on More. It may be down here at the bottom. Forms has some pre-made templates for you. There's a blank one and there's a blank quiz. The only difference between these two is that the quiz is turned on, and I'll show you that function. So if I just choose a blank form, if I go up here to my settings wheel and click on the quizzes tab and choose to make it a quiz, that will turn it into a quiz that Google will grade for you. I recommend changing this to later, and I recommend turning missed questions and correct answers off so that they can't see if they miss something immediately, because we know that our high school friends will just feed that to their friends who are taking your test later in the day. If you click on General, the default collects email addresses, which we do want it to do, and it also restricts it to users in Nacogdoches ISD, which is another thing that we want it to do. I recommend limiting it to one response so that they can't take the test multiple times. We do not want them to be able to edit it after they submit it, because we don't want them to go to the next period and go back in and look up and change their answers. Under the Presentation tab, it does allow you to shuffle the question order so that students are less likely to be able to cheat. Press Save, and you can tell that a form is a quiz because it says Answer Key. So, I did one and helped Miss Dimbali with a crime scene test earlier this year. So I'm going to kind of use hers as an example as I show you how to make a test. So I'm going to call this Crime Scene Test. And the very first thing that you want is for students to put their name on the paper. If you'll notice that this automatically changed from multiple choice to short answer. There are numerous different types of things that you can put in a question as a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, drop down. You can upload a file, linear scale, multiple choice grid, checkbox grid, date, and time. So for name, we want it to be a short answer. It's not going to be worth any points for them to put on their name, so we're not going to do anything to the answer key, but I do want that to be required because I do want them to put a name on it. The next thing I recommend you doing is class period, because I'll show you in a minute how they make responses is going to come out on a spreadsheet, and it's easier if you can sort it by class period. So I would do first period, second period, third period, etc. Now you can make that a multiple choice for the students, or you can make it a drop down for the students. If you're curious about what the different things look like, if you go up here to this eye, it will let you preview. And so here students could just click which class period, and it only lets them do one answer. So I like the multiple choice. So I'm going to go back to my form by clicking on the little pencil and go back into my form. Again, class period, I don't want it to affect their grade, but I do want it to be required. I do want them to have to put their class period. So now I'm going to start my test. If you'll notice, here is how you add different things. You can add a question, you can add a title and description. So here I'm going to do matching, because that was the first part of her test, so I added a title and description. If I had an image, I could add an image here. I could even embed a video. And add section is kind of something that they use a lot with escape room things and that sort of thing. If you want to know more about that, just shoot me an email. So under my matching, I'm going to start adding my first questions. So Ms. Dimbali sent me a crime scene test, and we were putting it into forms. So she had the terms, and she wanted the students to be able to choose what the answer was, or the definitions, and she wanted them to be able to choose the term. So I am just going to highlight this first one. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back into my form. I'm going to paste it. Now, she wanted this to be a drop down because we wanted to be able to see everything. So I am going to highlight these terms. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back into my form and I'm going to paste. Now, for some reason, this one, it put a blank one in between each one. So I'm just going to delete those blank ones out. And now I have my, my drop-down answers. I can go here, look at my matching. Okay, that is how I want it to look. So, for Google to grade, you have to do the answer key. So let me see, that one was B. So I'm going to click on answer key. I'm going to click on B because that's the correct answer. And we wanted these to be worth 2 points. So you have to do two things when you go to answer key. You have to tell it the correct answer and you have to assign it the number of points that you want it. Notice as I assign points, my total points changes here for my whole test. So, got that question, got the correct answer, it's worth 2 points. So I want to add another question. I want to use those same terms and change my definition. I don't want to have to recopy and paste all of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to edit my question and I'm going to choose this duplicate tab and it's going to duplicate the question and all I have to do is change the definition on my test. My answer key, correct answer was E, and it duplicates, it already tells it that it's worth 2 points. But I need to take off that B for the correct answer because it keeps the correct answer and the number of points when you duplicate. So if you've got like questions that all have the same answers or things like that, that's a really good way to do it. So now I want to add in my multiple choice. And I'm just going to copy and paste. Copy. Whoops. Paste. Same thing with my options, like I copied all of these at once. I can also copy my answers at once and paste those into the answers. Accidentally grabbed the wrong one. If you'll notice, you can add an image into your answers. You can also add an image into the question. I had a social studies teacher, mention that sometimes they use maps or political cartoons or things like that students need to see. Real easy just to pop in an image, just drag it in, get it from your Google Drive by URL, or you can search for Google Images here. So I would need to choose the correct answer, tell it how many points I want it to be. We also had she had some short answer at the bottom, which are really come to be paragraph questions here because short answer limits the number of characters. So I can just highlight my question. Go back into my form, paste it. I want to take off the number. And there we go. So I don't have an answer for this one because I'm going to have to manually grade it, and she had those worth 4 points. So you can see now that my total has changed here, that now it's 10. Ideally, I would think you would want it to come up to add to 100. So I'm going to take this test real quick. I'm going to put in my name, choose my class period, because remember this is the student view. I'm just going to click on the answer, and I'm going to say you should measure the body. And I'm going to submit, and it's going to tell me that my response has been recorded. On the teacher side, as students submit, you're going to start seeing this response number change. This summary tab is going to give you lots of good information about your test. It's going to give you your average for all your classes, your median, and then the range. And it's going to give you a bar graph for how students did, and I did really bad. So it's also going to give you frequently missed questions here, which is insightful. It's going to give you the student's email address and their score. It's going to give you name and a class period diagram. But what's really important is it takes each individual question and gives you a graph distributing the way that it was answered in your class. So you can see that I answered this wrong. So you'll also be able to see the percentage that answered it correctly will be in green. So you can get valuable information here. So if like 70% of a class answered it wrong, then there's a problem. Or if 70% answered it right, you can see that. But if that other 30% of the class all answered it the same way, wrong, maybe there's an issue there. Or maybe if it was split 50-50. But you can get a lot of good information here for reteach or for other things. You'll also notice that down here, this the answers to the short answer or paragraph questions will all be there for all of your students. So you can scroll through and see how they answered those. But we need to click on the individual tab to grade my individual short answer. So let's say that this is the correct answer, that you should measure the body. I'm going to manually change this to a 4. You'll notice as I change it to a 4 that the student's grade changes here. Save often. Here, this little save button as you change pops up. So now you can see that this is green, this is the right answer. So once you scroll through and you manually grade, if you have something to manually grade, if you have all questions with answers that you loaded into Google, your whole test is graded for you. If you click this Create Spreadsheet, it'll ask you if you want to create a new spreadsheet or use an existing. You'll want to create a new one, and you could go ahead and call it whatever your test is. I can't type today. And create. And it's going to open up a spreadsheet with your student's name and their score. So here is going to be where you're going to get their grade for the grade book with their name, which is really easy. You can sort by class period. This timestamp is going to also give you valuable information. It's going to tell you how long the student took on the test. So like, let's say class started at 10:40. Well, I know that Courtney Jackson took 6 minutes on the test. That may be why she only got a 4 out of 10. You know, it also tells you if a student got in and took the test before their scheduled time, if somebody gave them the link or something happened, so you know that information, so you can kind of check for that. So all of your students' information will be here. Here are all the questions, and here's how each student answered their question. I had somebody say that they wanted to be able to print out the test because they had to like submit them to the state for a certification or things like that. You can click on the print button and you can print individual tests to back out for students with how they answered. You can't, I don't know that there's a bulk print, but you can print each one out individually. And when you click Release Score, it will email the test out to the student with their right or wrong answers. So if you're a teacher that you don't ever actually physically give your test back because you don't want your test floating around, you probably don't ever want to necessarily release that score, but you could print the test out for the student to look back over, or if a parent requested that kind of thing, you can have paper proof of what they did online. So again, this was a really quick, really basic, really fast overview of what I did on Tuesday. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, need help, that sort of thing, remember I'm here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I would be more than happy to work with you.